That is kind of nice. If that's all right, I in theory am live now on my second channel. I've been trying to figure out how this works for a little bit now. YouTube is swapping out their technology, or I guess they did a little bit ago, and I've just been using the classic version. And so I've been trying to figure out how to do this right, and I'm just old enough that it's very easy for me to not fully follow along with stuff. And so, yeah, here I am on my second channel. If you want to ask me some questions, actually, that's the whole point of this. Ask away on your questions. Ideally, I'd prefer not to do movie questions here. But then again, if there's only like 10, 20, 30 of us, I don't know. I can answer whatever. I'm not super picky. But I'm just trying to figure out this new technology. I want to do more on this second channel. And when there's when I'm having to figure out editing and coming up with vlog stories for the day and everything, it just adds up. It's too much to do, and it's too much video editing. But I could do more live things, and maybe that would be a way to get kind of more stuff over here. So, all right, let's see. We got a number of people chiming in. Super Mason 200. Hello there, Gamer Girl. Another one. We just had one. So this is on a. Hopefully it's on my other channel. So yes, this is actually my third in a row. Because I did the main one that had like 250 people in it, and then I did a Patreon one that had 20, 30 people in it, and then this is on my second channel, which it tells me got about 20 people in here. So this could be fun. This could be a lot of fun if we can just, when it's not a bazillion people and I can just talk with everybody. So hopefully I'll do more stuff over here, but this is not my one that's on the main channel, so preferably not. I'm going to prioritize questions that are not about movie type things. Rich Reviews, I always use classic version when uploading a video. I use classic for everything. YouTube stuff is very frustrating. Eli Schneider, advice for up-and-coming movie critics. The big thing is you just get a lot of output. Just do a ton of stuff. You want to create as many things as possible. So anything you do a first time, you're bad at it. Anything, you're not good at riding a bike until you jump on your bike for a while. You can't hit a baseball until you've done it for a while. It doesn't matter how naturally talented you are. It takes at bats to get good at batting. So it takes a lot of reviewing to get good at it. You're not going to write out of it, be good. So just do it a lot. You want to come up with a structure and have a way that having a structure for how you do your reviews makes it so that when you're watching the movie, you come up with the beats as you're kind of going, like you're thinking through how to organize your thoughts. And so having a structure helps you watch the movie for the purpose of evaluating it. Look at a bunch of different reviewers. Like, don't just watch me and be like, hey, I want to do what Sean does. Watch me. Read Leonard Maltin. Watch some old Roger Ebert stuff. Get a bunch of different people. Go on Rotten Tomatoes. Find some people you disagree with. Look at what they're doing. And come up with a bunch of different things that you're looking for. And try a bunch of different things. Figure out your voice, your style. But yeah, don't just watch people you like and take inspiration from. Watch a bunch of people. Read a bunch of people. And read books on screenwriting, directing, and just get a bunch of different ways to think about filmmaking in general. Leah Elkins, how are your kiddos doing while stuck at home? I mean, thus far they're good. They're getting a little bit on everybody's nerves. They're kind of we're having a little bit of that trouble to where they have too much energy and they're too much around each other. So they, keep picking on each other, but they like to watch TV, play video games and stuff like that. That's all they can do. And then, we're letting them take the couch apart and make a fort. We're in the process of cleaning out. We'd used my daughter's room for about 2 years now as a junk room, just all junk in there. So she couldn't go in there. And we cleaned it out last week when I took off. And so then we're putting a bunk bed in there. So now they have 2 rooms with bunk beds and they're kind of making forts and everything. So thus far it's good. We're teaching them to ride bikes a little bit. So doing a lot of stuff with them. So thus far it hasn't been too bad. They're of the ages to where being at home with us, they don't pick up on the fact hey, why am I at home? Questions. Gamer Girl, if you had to live in Massachusetts, what town would you like to live in? I actually don't know enough about Massachusetts to be able to answer that. So Boston, Boston, it is. I went there once. I believe it was between 7th and 8th grade. And my mom's sister and I, we used to do these like road trips growing up where we would go places. We would go on like a month-long road trip. We just drive around. And so that at the time, my aunt was married to a guy that lived in Delaware. So we stayed at as Central Fort. We were at his place in Delaware, and then we would just like drive up to different places up in New England. We did long road trips intentionally. So went to New York City, went up to Canada for 45 minutes. But I don't know Massachusetts really to be able to say where I'd want to live there. Jack Inkson, what was your first job? Technically, my first job is I worked at a mall cookie store for 2 weeks. And the best man from my wedding, he's still one of my good friends. I go to the movies with him all the time. And he got me the job at this cookie place. And by the time they hired me, they'd told him that they were going to shut down in like 3 weeks. So like the whole chain, all of them, and I think it wasn't like a large chain, but a small chain. But it was at multiple locations in Central Texas. Was going to shut down. But they just hired me. And so for 2 weeks, he was kind of my boss. And then he's like, hey, we're actually shutting down. I've known all along. I wasn't allowed to tell you until now, but you don't have a job anymore. 2 weeks in, so it was pretty funny. I was like 16, 17 at the time. And then the job I had for a while, I worked at a Chick-fil-A for 3 years. 3 years I worked at a Chick-fil-A. I was a manager, and worked in the front, worked in the back, all that fun stuff. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Hello, Sean. I'm a big fan of yours. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. Hawkish, how long do you think you will do YouTube? Love your videos. Thank you. I don't really know. It's tough to say because YouTube itself is only 15 years old. And so it's not it's very, in the scheme of things, it's not all that stable. Social media tends to have a shelf life. None of them are legal adults. Facebook's under 18 years old. YouTube's under 18 years old. And so just don't know what the future of it brings. I'm not looking to quit, but I'm not specifically tied to YouTube. It's the thing where I've grown a platform and I've had success and can make a living out of it. But I'm a creative person, so then I love movies, and so that's where my passions and skill sets kind of came together, and that's where it worked. But who knows what the future brings? So some of the stuff I'm working on is I love my third channel, Real Creators. I'd love to be able to turn that into something that's also a little bit of a side job of helping other people be successful on YouTube. Right now, that's just something I post some videos on, but if that turned into something that was another stream of revenue where I did some speaking related to that, or more speaking, I've done a little bit. I spoke at a Comic-Con last year, applied to a bunch of Comic-Cons this year to talk more about YouTube at Comic-Cons, and then they were all canceled. All the ones I applied to obviously were canceled because we're all in lockdown, but I don't know. Who knows how long I'll be doing this. Owner's film reviews. Since no newer films are being released for the time being, what content do you plan on putting on your main channel? So I made a list about a week ago. Who's texting me? I put out a list. I made a list the week I went off that had 120 video ideas on it. Let me see if I can find my big list of ideas. So basically, what I did, I'll just tell the process. I looked at the last year of my channel and what are all the videos my top 50 most successful videos, and I went through and what type of video is that, and what genre is that, or what franchise is that, what topic is that. So style of video, a ranking, a top 10, how to fix, an editorial. I just listed the type of video it was, and then I made a list of movie franchises, subjects that I talked about that were in that top 50. So stuff that people, by your votes, by your clicks, you said, I'm interested in this. And I just made these two lists, and I just basically went through this whole thing, and I went, okay, Marvel, what's every style of video I did over here that I haven't created yet? And then came up with 10 ideas, and I went, Star Wars, okay, let's cross-reference these, what have I not done yet? And then I went through I always keep long lists of ideas, and I just came up with stuff. So, I mean, there's no shortage of top 10s, franchises I haven't ranked, but then there's also like how to fix type things. There's more recommendations. We're all locked at home, so there's I could do Crackle, Amazon Prime, Hulu. There's things like that. I loved the video I did on canceled movies, so I've listed about 10 franchises that have a bunch of canceled movies. So there's some things I can do. And so I came up about 120 lists. Some of my rankings are from 3 years ago. They're podcasts. They're 40 minutes long talking about 4 movies. That's not how I do it now. So some of those they feel right to redo them. It's not just, taking advantage of the factors. It's not just redoing the same video. No, I mean, that was very early in when I was figuring things out. And so like a 40-minute long Back to the Future ranking is a podcast. That's not what I do now. And so it makes sense for me to redo my Back to the Future ranking. And so I came up with about 12 of those. So that's some of the stuff that I'm looking at. It's kind of fun for me because it's not the same old obvious stuff that I've kind of been doing. Eli Taylor reviews. Loved your How to Fix Phantom Menace video. Are you planning to do more of those videos? Yeah, I've got brainstormed about I have about 8 how to fix videos ideas that I could do. I don't know if that's true. I made that number up. So there's 6 Star Wars movies that are how to fix. But actually, I mean, I could throw Solo in that a little bit. I don't know. I wouldn't fix Rogue One or the originals, but both the prequels and the sequels plus Solo, I think have some things. So that's 7 right there. But then something like I think you could do some of the MCU films, Iron Man 2, Thor: The Dark World. There's some things to be fixed. There's a lot of things like that. So yeah, if it does well, I plan to do more. NY113 Gaming. How do you decide what movies you want to see? Well, I mean, how do you decide what do I want to see? There's want to see and which ones am I going to review? Those are kind of different things. Do I want to see? That's just inherently the things you want to see. What do I want to see for my channel? I try to go see most of the movies that studios invite me to see for a press screening. If they're going to invite me, thus far, I feel grateful enough that I try and cover those ones. More recently, I've stopped doing that as much, where I'm covering some of those on Instagram and Patreon because they're just off-brand. And I'm trying to realize, people subscribe to my channel for one type of content, and if I post reviews for these obscure indie movies just because I was invited to it, that's not what people subscribe for, and so that's not really what my channel is. Like, you can summarize me as movie reviewer, but that's not really what most people subscribe for. I'm not Chris Stuckman. My channel did not grow because of just reviewing movies in general. It's a lot because of these big franchise rankings. That's really what my audience is. And there are people that want me to do those deeper reviews, so I'll have a place for those. So that's a part to it of whatever I get invited to, I go to see a lot of those movies and try and cover them somewhere. And then there's stuff, sometimes I just watch it because I want to. Like direct-to-video action movies, I just like some of those. Or sometimes I try and do things I'm doing a favor for someone, or of sorts. So like I reviewed a movie last fall called In the Line of Duty that it starred Aaron Eckhart. It was a direct-to-video action movie. I watched, I had some fun with it. And I posted that on Twitter that I enjoyed it. And the director of the movie messaged me like, hey man, if you could help me out and get, like you said you liked it, could you put a positive review on Rotten Tomatoes for this genre? We don't get a lot of, it's tough to get positive reviews because people don't see as much. It's not theatrical direct-to-video. I was like, sure, man. And so I did, like, if you're wondering why I kind of out of the blue reviewed this direct-to-video action movie, it's because I wanted to help the movie. So there's a lot of things like that kind of play into it. Super Basin 200, have you ever played Star Wars Battlefront 2? All the time. Yeah, my son and I play it all the time. That's like I got it right around when it came out. I think it might have been the first game I got with my PlayStation 4. So yeah, we play it all the time. And it's just been fun having a son that's is into Star Wars and into video games too. That's really cool. It's like having a built-in best friend. Thomas, when are you gonna love your content? Are you going to make a DreamWorks ranking at some point in time? But there's 40 movies. I always think with my rankings, there's like 40 DreamWorks movies. They're not epics. They're not 3 hours long. They're not 2 hours long, but 40 movies is a 60 hours if they're 90 minutes long. It's 60 hours of movie watching for one video. That's an enormous amount of movie watching for a video that I don't know how well it'll do. And so I have to line that up with something. A big release. Like, my massive Marvel ranking of 58 movies was lined up with Endgame, the biggest movie of all time. So it's big, gigantic ranking, ton of work, but lined up with something very big where people were talking about Marvel. DreamWorks, Trolls 2 is not going to be a movie that justifies watching 40 movies for one video. That's my thought process. Rich reviews. So what is the best place to live in Texas? I don't, I've only lived in the Austin area. Round Rock is great, the area where I live, and have kind of lived my whole life. North Austin suburbs. They're all great school districts. I was in the Round Rock School District, some of the best in the country. Always had a good job market here, even when things have gone crazy. It's nothing compared to other places because we have so much technology here. Anyone here that complains, oh, there's no jobs or anything, that's on them. Like the people I know that say stuff like that, there's a reason that they struggle to find a job. So I'll go with Round Rock, Texas, though I'm biased because it's the only place I've really lived. Rich Reviews, who was your favorite female panelist on Collider? Perry. Mikey, what's your current favorite TV show? Current favorite TV show. So it's on air running right now. Oh man. The ones that I was real super passionate about are off. So like Daredevil did. No, it's gone. I don't know. I don't know if there's like one that's currently running that I'm super passionate about. There's several I watch, but the last year or two, I've kind of drifted from television just because I've been so heavy on doubling down on rankings for movies that it's kind of driven my schedule. And just a lot of shows that I've been frustrated. They haven't been as good as I want them to be. I don't know if I have a current favorite. I don't know. I don't really know. I'm watching through Westworld and there's some real cool stuff in there, but season 2 really frustrated me. So episode 1 of season 3, it's real slow. I liked the second episode of season 3 a good bit more, where it felt more like the show and I knew what it was doing and had kind of conflict and momentum. But, I really liked Watchmen. I didn't have anything, but I think it's only a standalone little season there. So I don't know if that counts. I have enjoyed Jack Ryan. Gamer Girl, most anticipated movie that got delayed due to the virus. I was very excited for Quiet Place 2. Obviously, Black Widow, anything in the MCU. Wonder Woman. I'd probably say Wonder Woman. Really liked the first one. My wife really liked the first one. I can probably take my daughter to it. And, They did something real special with the first one. Didn't quite stick the landing in the third act, and then kind of the vibe I'm curious about. Has me very interested. So I'll say Wonder Woman. Hawkish, do any of your kids enjoy movies as much as you? I mean, they're big fans of. Yeah, I mean, they enjoy movies, watching stuff with me. I mean, they're young, and so they just enjoy anytime the TV's in front of them. But I mean, they're into all the stuff that I'm into. So, Eli Schneider, how do you get into screenings? On my channel, Real Creators, I've done a couple different videos on that where I've talked about how to get on press lists. But, I mean, and I talk about how anyone can get into them. The quick version is, if you're in a market that has press screenings, they give out passes, and there's some websites like advancedscreening.com that they want the theater to be filled. So that about, if it seats 200 people, it's like 50 movie critics and 150 people from the public. And so then you just have to wait in a line for 3 hours and you can get into a lot of movies. And then how do you get on press lists? You grow an audience and then you just reach out. It's just a lot of hustle. Jack Inkson, what's the podcast about this week? John Flickinger. Unless something crazy happens, someone gets sick, I'm going to have Flick Pick on. He's super game to be on it. And it's a pretty cool little story. Ryan O'Toole asked him with a super chat, "Hey, would you ever be on Sean Chandler's podcast? What do you think about Sean Chandler?" And he's like, "Yeah, I've watched some of his videos. Yeah, I've watched some of his stuff." And so I just made a little video. I shared that on Twitter and some other places, like future podcast guest. And then he followed me back, and I messaged him, "Hey, would you be on the podcast?" I was just joking around, hope you had good support. He's like, "Sure, absolutely, I'll be on there. Just tell me the date." And I was like, "Could you do a month from now?" And he's like, "Dude, just tell me a week in advance. You don't have to tell me a month in advance." I was like, "Okay." And so that was about 3 weeks ago. And then so I had an opening now, and so then messaged him, and he said, "Yeah." So John Flickinger, Flickpick, will be on the podcast this week. Carter Hughes, is Bloodshot worth renting for $20? Renting? No, I wouldn't rent it for $20. I don't think they've got the figured out. I think they probably should have done a different model on kind of how all that stuff works. Like if it was $20 and you get to rent it now, but you can own it when it comes out on digital a month from now, I'd say give it a shot. Or so. I think they need to come up with like some sort of like tiered, staggered. You can only watch it for 48 hours now, and then you can pay $3 more if you want to watch it again before then. But then you get access to it and own it a month from now. But the idea of renting it for $20 now and then $20 a month from now you can buy it is not a good business model. But I don't think $20 for that one. No, I wouldn't do that. I had fun with it. Like, I mean, absolutely. Like when you can rent it for a normal price. If you like the trailer, I'd give it a shot. I had fun with it. I think some people, if you're kind of an old school soul. If you're younger, maybe it wouldn't work for you. If you're kind of older soul like me, it's not like sophisticated like modern comic book movies or anything like that. But I had fun with it. Super Mason 200. Are you going to Dallas Fan Expo? Because I know you went last year. I wasn't able to go and live in the area. It was delayed until June because of the corona. So last year I spoke at it. I led a panel on how to make a nerdy living on YouTube, and I applied again to do it. And they never got back to me. Obviously, everything they're planning to do got canceled. I'm not quite sure if they would have told me yes. I'm not sure if they would have told me no. But, the timing of it could go either way. I applied to about 6 or 7 different Comic-Cons in Texas. So I don't know if I would go to Dallas Fan Expo. If they give me a yes, then I'll be there. If not, I don't know if I would just attend. Because it's... to do that, it turns into a couple nights stay in hotels and stuff like that. And I don't think I'd want to do that. I don't know if I'd want to drive up 3 hours to Dallas, park in downtown Dallas, and then drive home that night. I don't know if I'd want to do that if I didn't have kind of more stuff going on. Just to kind of like find people. It's pretty cool. It's always super cool when I'm at a Dallas, something like that, and I get to meet a bunch of fans and, shake hands. And there's just like this one couple of guys I met at the Dallas Fan Expo last year. Pretty wild story. And I just kept running into them and talking with their dads. I talked to them like 3-4 times for a little bit. And then I spoke at a retreat in January. And the way the universe worked out, they worked at that camp. And so I'm speaking at it. I walked into the cafeteria and I had just taken my glasses off. And there were 2 guys standing at the door like waving at me. And I was speaking at it. So like everyone there was kind of like, hey, they would look at me kind of because they realized the speaker guy was standing there. So I waved and I thought it was something different. I can't see anything with my glasses off. So I was like, why are these guys looking at me? Put my glasses on, looked back and I went, like my brain had to like open the file. I was like, wait, I know these guys, but they're not from... Oh, it's the guys from Dallas Fan Expo last year. It was pretty cool getting to talk with them a little bit. So anytime you get to meet the fans, pretty neat. Owner's film reviews are, as you're rewatching the MCU films, where are you about right now? I'm on middle of phase 2. It's all on my Instagram. I have an Instagram story and I'm tweeting on, like, if you follow me on Twitter and Instagram, it's all on there. You can know exactly where I'm at because I'm tweeting along with the films. Aiden, Jenny, hello, Mr. Chandler. What's your favorite color? Let's go with blue to go with my eyes. Rich Reviews, what's your favorite minor league baseball team in Texas? The one right down the street that plays at the Dell Diamond. It's about 10 minutes away from my house. That's the only one that I know what it is. That's the only one I can say, and I don't even remember what the team name is. Gives you how much invested I am in that. Do you follow a lot of minor league baseball? But yeah, there's a field about 10 minutes that way, and they filmed part of the last season of Fear the Walking Dead there. Hawkish, I like how he asks us not to ask questions about movies, but that's all we're doing. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I understand, and likewise, if you didn't hear it when I said please don't ask about movies, or try not to ask about movies, if you didn't hear that, then you didn't hear it. But obviously, people want to ask me about movies, and there's only 20 people in here. What is it? Yeah, 21 people in 21 people in here. So it doesn't matter too much if we're talking about movies. The idea of getting to talk about different stuff. That's what I kind of want to do. That's it. Sometimes it's, if we want to talk about movies or whatever, okay. I'm known for movies, so of course the thing that you immediately would want to ask me about is movies. Fair enough. I don't know why you would want to ask me about other things, so even my request is perhaps unreasonable. Billy Bob Joe, do you plan on reviewing Trolls World Tour? Probably. I don't... The idea of paying $20 to review a movie that I'm not crazy about is not doesn't immediately appeal to me. But if they send out a screener link or something like that, so I can watch it for free, I'll review it. If I have to pay $20, probably not. I probably won't review it if I have to pay $20 to watch it at my home. That doesn't seem like something that is reasonable to me, because it's not my audience. That's not, people aren't like, oh, what is he going to think about Trolls 2? He talked about the first ones. So I wouldn't feel bad about not reviewing it. Gamer Girl, do you hate Captain Marvel, or did you like but have issues with it, like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Far From Home? I mean, I don't hate it. I mean, if you've seen my rankings, I don't hate any Marvel movies at all. I mean, I've never said I hate any of the MCU movies. Should say MCU movies. I don't know if they're I don't think I hate any Marvel movies. Hate is a strong word, and so I don't apply hate to hardly anything. That's, people use it so flippantly, and if you flippantly just hate a lot of movies, it sounds like you need to see a counselor, or you need to learn what words mean. Hate, you shouldn't just flippantly hate things. I don't understand, I don't understand a lot of movie reviews. My fault is I'm too positive on stuff. I don't give enough negative reviews. That's because I love movies. It's easy for me to enjoy a movie. I enjoy a lot of things. And if you don't, I don't understand why you'd be a movie reviewer. Like, I don't get it. The thing that makes what I do a dream is that I love movies. So, Captain Marvel, I had issues with it. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume, all three of those movies, I had issues with them. Guardians Volume 2 is the one that's certainly the biggest disappointment for me of those three, and the one that I think was kind of the more heartbreaking of the bunch, because I just really didn't like the direction they went. I thought Captain Marvel was awkward, and Far From Home, I think, has serious plot issues. I rewatched it yesterday for a video I'm working on that might be out Monday or Tuesday, where I pitch my concept for Spider-Man 3. As I rewatched it, and I think it has big plot issues. That's my thing on that one. Tony Jabroni, how psyched are you about a sequel to Spider-Man PS4 video game? Very. I mean, I'll be there opening day, getting that one, and I'll have a review. I'll play through it as quick as I can. That'll be a lot of fun. That's a great game. I think the trick, though, with that game is, what do you do to make it not just feel like 2.0 rather than 2? Because the game just does such a great New York City. So what are they going to do that it just doesn't feel like I'm playing more of the same game? Because if they just want to do more of the same game, put out little boost, like big story arc deals that for $15 and improve it. Like, what are you going to do to really feel like this is $70 worth of new, $60 worth of new? So I think that's the challenge, but whatever it is, even if they're up to the challenge or not, I will have the game opening day, playing it with my kids. They have a ton of fun with that one. That's another one that I gotten to play with them, and it's not multiplayer, so we have to take turns, and so they fight and they're changing costumes and all that stuff. But I played a ton of that game. Billy Bob Joe, Fan 4 Stick. No, I don't hate it. It's a faulty movie, but why would I hate it? What would it do to elicit hate from me? That they dropped the ball? That they didn't have a second half? I wouldn't hate that. It's disappointing. It's frustrating. It's interesting. That's an interesting movie because the first half isn't a disaster. The second half is. Like, there's nothing disastrous about the first half. You can call it dull. You could say it's ill-conceived because it's too serious Fantastic Four, but it's not a disaster by any stretch of the imagination. It's as soon as they get powers, the movie just collapses. Owner's Film Reviews. Do you plan on doing any meet and greets outside the U.S. once the pandemic has ended? I mean, I've barely done meet and greets here. I did one here in town I tried to do a deal for Birds of Prey. One person showed up. And so, like, the idea that I would kind of like go international and do meet and greets. Like, if I went to Europe, I would tell people where I was going to be at and try and line it up to have some sort of meet and greet. But, like, I'm not planning to travel the world. Like, I don't have the money to do that, like, at all. Not remotely at all. Like if when I travel, I try to find ways to go to a movie or something where people can meet up with me. But you have to think, I have 149,000 subscribers spread across the entire earth. And then you have to think, of my 149,000 subscribers, how many of those people just liked one video and clicked subscribe? How many watch one video per month? And so there's someone that like enjoys my stuff, but they're not, I want to travel to go meet you. And they're spread across the globe. And then wherever I'm at, would they be available that one particular day? So I'm not nearly of the size to where, I would attract a crowd for a meet and greet to justify some of that stuff. Joey's Movie Blog. Have you ever watched Geeks Plus Gamers? I don't believe so. I don't think so. Gamer Girl, do you have a favorite breakfast cereal? Not really. I don't eat breakfast cereal. I haven't eaten cereal and milk in probably a decade. Like I don't know if I've had a bowl of cereal like that in a decade, but I eat Chex a lot. Like just straight out of the box, I'll eat Chex. Corn Chex or chocolate Chex, any of that stuff. But any things like that. Gamer Girl, how is the stuff that's happening in the world not affecting the video game industry like it's affecting TV, movies, and daily life? I don't know enough about the gaming industry to give you a solid answer on that, but I think some of it is the inherent nature of a video game is that it's someone programming at a computer, and there are a bunch of people, and you can do that from home, and so you just have to find a way to communicate with each other. But like movies, and it's people at home playing a game. Movie theaters, it's 100 people crammed into a single room. Not a good idea right now. Movie set, 200 people filming a movie in one place, or 10 people, 20 people at one place filming a thing. Illegal in most places right now. And so the collaborative process for making a game can continue, whereas with a movie, it's inherently a group of people in a place, which you can't do right now, and I think that's the distinction. Super Mason 200, do you ever play video games like Fortnite with fans? No, I've never played with fans, no. I'm not very good. I don't think it'd be very interesting as on a gaming level, and that kind of makes me nervous because maybe I should experiment with like my patrons or something like that to see if I could do it. There's some of those things that it's like it seemed like the novelty for a fan of being like, hey, I'm playing video games with Sean Chandler, puts a weight of expectations on me that I don't know how to live up to that because you want it to be this big exciting thing, and for me it's not necessarily that. It's stressful. You want there to be like this special moment, and maybe like it's literally just you're playing a video game with me. Like I'm not good, and that puts anxiety on me. So those are some of the thoughts that kind of go through my mind. Packwit, Stephen Brett, thoughts on Spies in Disguise. I believe I posted on Instagram my thoughts about it. You can check out my Instagram. It was kind of fun, kind of a weird concept. Kind of wanted more spy stuff. I like the spy stuff more than the bird aspect, which is the whole concept of the movie. So. But my minute thoughts are on Instagram. Highly encourage you to follow me over there. Peckwit, Stephen Brett, favorite dog breed or an animal you wish you could transform into? Well, I'm not looking to transform into an animal because they don't have very big brains. Dog breed, so I've had a bunch of Shelties throughout my life. I had 3 different Shelties. I really enjoyed Shelties. I've got my second pit bull right now, or second pit bull mix right now. Those are great dogs. They're just the nicest, sweetest, cuddliest dogs I've ever had. So of my limited ones, that's what I have. Rich Reviews. Apparently alcohol stores are considered essential business during this pandemic. Yeah, I mean, people are locked at home, so what are you going to do? They drink. Rich Review. Sucks that Disneyland and Disney World are shut down. I mean, in the scheme of things that it sucks that things are shut down, gigantic corporations, theme parks is not the one that immediately comes to my mind. So of course they should be shut down. Madsman, what phone do you have? I have an iPhone 10. It's, I guess, a couple years now. That's what I have. Ren Gundroff 47, have you played any Star Wars video games? I played tons of Star Wars video games. X-Wing back in the 90s, Dark Forces back in the 90s, TIE Fighter back in the 90s. Was it Shadow of the Empire, the N64 game back in the 90s? The couple of Jedi Knight games. Of course, I play Battlefront all the time with my son now. I don't know whichever ones are out there. Tons of them. Lots of them. Evans, yes, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Do you know where Bosnia is? If you gave me a map, you said you'd give me $1,000 if I pointed to the right one, I probably would not get the $1,000. If you told me I had to point the general direction of where it's at, I probably would do okay. Eli Schneider, what other YouTubers do you look up to and recommend? Look up to. There's kind of different questions. Recommendation kind of depends on the person. They're not generically. I don't like to give generic recommendations. Even those videos that I gave on Disney Plus and Netflix tried to say, if you're this, look into this. If you're this, as opposed to just a generic recommendation, because I don't think people aren't generic. People are specific, and so recommendations should be specific. That's even the way I try and discuss my recommendations in my reviews. So when people just want me to give a letter and that's all they care about, that gives me anxiety if someone's basing their opinion based off just a letter and not paying attention to everything else I'm saying. But the people that influenced me to start would be John Campia, Stuckman, Johns. Watched a lot of Collider movie talk, watched a lot of movie fights back in the day. And that's a lot of stuff that kind of inspired me when I decided to start. And I watch a lot of pitch meeting stuff right now. So there's some stuff. Gamer Girl, which subject were you best at in school? The one where it seemed like I stood out the most in grade school was actually physics. But as a weird class with a weird teacher, and he taught it weird in his way about it. And so he talked about things in a way that it was like I was horrible the first 2 semesters, and then I took one. They messed up. They somehow in their course planning they put a bunch of people in a physics class that had trig as a prerequisite, but we were taking trig at the time. We hadn't learned how to do trigonometry. And so all of us were like failing for 2 semesters, and we're like, "What? We don't know how to do any of this. What is going on here?" And we didn't even know what we didn't know. It was one of those situations like we didn't even like cosine, tangent, all that stuff. We didn't know any of it, what it meant. And so he's giving us formulas, and we're like, "I don't understand." And literally overnight, we had trig in math class, and I went, "Oh, that's what we've been doing." And then suddenly I started getting like straight A's in physics, but there's weird stuff with the class, and so that was, oddly enough, that was the one. It's kind of a weird deal. Hawkish, have you played Skyrim and Fallout? No. Billy Bob Joe, thoughts on Black Widow possibly being a Disney Plus exclusive? They won't do that. That's not going to happen. That's just internet speculation, people trying to get clicks. They think that can be $1 billion movie. They're not going to make $1 billion off of Disney Plus, so they would be just throwing money away. They're not going to do that. I mean, if like, obviously the world gets worse, if all of the worst case scenario projections are right and we're locked up even longer than we're thinking, all bets are off then. But the speculation right now where people are like, they're going to put it on Disney Plus. No, they're not. They lose money. Eli Schroeder, have you ever heard of Fantasy Movie League? I've heard of it. I haven't done it. I've never done it. Could be fun. Could be interesting. But that's not something I've ever done. Rich Reviews, man, hanging out with you must be a blast. I can be. I can also be insufferable in other ways. It's tough to know I'm actually really shy and introverted, and so I can be really quiet in groups. But I can also, because I'm a performer, I'm a stage persona and things like that, I can be the life of the party at other times. So sometimes it can be a lot of fun. Other times I'm probably not very interesting. I can give off. I've gotten better at knowing how to fix this, but I can give off a really bad first impression to people because they see me on stage, they see me in certain contexts as, hey, moving fast, talking dynamic, and then they're talking with me one-on-one, and I'm like quiet, and I'm just kind of listening to them and they think it's them. They think that like they've done something wrong, and it's not that. It's just that I'm a shy person. I'm not. I'm not doing an act, but the way my brain talks to a group and the way my brain processes talking to a person, those are two different ways that my brain is wired. And the overthinking process and the way it works, just when I can just say things versus when there's back and forth and interaction, especially when it's like a group of 8 people, that's very difficult for me to deal with a small group because I'm having to process how 8 different people will respond to what I'm saying. So I overthink everything. So sometimes I can be interesting and sometimes I'm not very interesting. Movie Guy 99, have you seen Parental Guidance? No. Danchus, who's your favorite director? Spielberg. Gamer Girl, have you listened to any Christian singers or bands? Sure, I'm hundreds of them. These days, if you're talking about current stuff, it would all be worship teams from churches. Austin Stone, Elevation, Hillsong United, Hillsong Young and Free. Those are the things I'd be more interested in now. The stuff out of like CCM, Christian radio, that stuff's not very interesting to me because it's of music feels the most like they just cram it through a formula and over process everything. It's just not. I don't really enjoy most of that stuff. But back in the '90s, you just kind of go through the list of contemporary Christian artists from the late '90s. I would know all of them and could sing along to all the Newsboys, Audio Adrenaline, DC Talk, Grammar Train. I mean, just kind of go through this gigantic list. Even ones like off the top of my head, I couldn't think of them. But I would know them as soon as you started playing stuff. I had a very deep knowledge of 90s Christian music. Now I know most of worship music. I don't listen to Christian radio at all. And some of it, that's also that I lead worship do worship leading at church, and I've been a part of that stuff pretty much my whole life, adult life. And so then that's the stuff I have reason to know better. Honors Film Reviews. Favorite Clint Eastwood film? I don't know, maybe A Fistful of Dollars. Probably A Fistful of Dollars. Spaghetti westerns. But he's done a lot of. He doesn't do a lot of stuff that I rewatch, but I enjoy a lot of his stuff. Falcon, hello, Sean. I was wondering if you finished Star Trek Picard. With so, what are your thoughts on it? Yeah, I finished it last night at like 3 a.m. I liked all of it. I certainly felt the nostalgia. If they have a season 2, I'll watch it. Man, I don't think they did a very good job with the story for this season, like at all. The pacing of it, the where they ended stuff, the bold choices that they made in the There's two different Deus Ex Machinas in the last episode. I always mispronounce that word. There's 2 different things where they just totally cheat resolving this big gigantic problem. That's bad writing. It's bad writing. It felt like they should have gotten to the planet they're on in the last 2 episodes, like 2 episodes earlier, or at least 1 episode sooner. So then it felt like they really rushed plot points. You get to the end of it and you're like, so many of these characters are really unlikable, like really, really unlikable. Because they're like, one's like Thanos and the other one is an actual murderer, and we're supposed to like have an aw shucks at the end of the season. I just a lot of big problems with it. I don't know if they rushed it, their scripts or something. I don't know how they made some of these really just bizarre bad choices. It was very frustrating. Eli Schneider, what is your most memorable moment you've had at a movie theater? I did a video on that. I have a video called on my best and worst movie theater experiences. They're all in there. I've had weird ones where people in front of me are watching porn. So that's an interesting but not necessarily a good thing. I saw a movie with Chris Stuckman 6 months ago. Fast 5 was really cool, but I've got a video on it. Ren Gundo. Do you wish to meet George Lucas? I mean, like anything with that, like if it's like at a Comic Con and it's like walk up and shake their hand, like, hey, I love Star Wars. You're such a visionary. Let's take a picture. Like that's I have no interest in that. If there's a scenario where I actually could sit down and talk with him for an hour, like have coffee with him, sure. I mean, like have a real conversation with George Lucas, sure. But anything that's kind of like this real quick moving stuff, that's not of interest to me at all. Packwit Stephen Brett, do you watch Cinema Wins or Sins? No, it's just not of interest to me, especially Cinema Sins in particular. That kind of like, let's nitpick and count. It's just not interesting to me, like at all. Like not remotely interesting to me. I don't think it's helpful. And I don't begrudge them for finding a thing that works for them, but I think there's a lot stuff like that can I think do more damage to film criticism than anything else because it kind of takes the art out of filmmaking and it kind of turns it into this checklist of rights and wrongs, and I don't it's just not of interest to me. It doesn't sit well with me. Tony Jabroni, weird fan experience. I don't want to talk, I wouldn't talk bad about any fans. So the weirdest thing I can actually share is that the first time I met a fan in public, my belt had just snapped, and I like it like was broken or I don't remember what exactly it was, and so my belt wasn't properly attached and my pants were falling down, and so I'm walking back to my car. And I just hear someone, Sean, and like, what is going on? And then two college students like approach me and like, hey, and they're like, are you Sean from YouTube? Like, I am. And I'm literally holding my pants up and we got a picture with them. And if you see like the full uncropped version, I'm holding my pants and my belt's like sticking out funny. So I posted it initially, that version. People were like, what's going on with your belt? I was like, I better delete that one. So that was just the first time I ever was recognized out in public, turned into this very bizarre experience. Next question's interesting. Good looking honky Sean, Peter North here, old porn star. Question, do you have adult comics? No. Eli Schneider, do you have Letterboxd? I would love to know your opinion on less popular films. Yeah, I have a Letterboxd. I post on my community tab constantly, just constantly. And I like 5 days ago, I posted my link to my Letterboxd account on there. Follow me on Instagram. I posted the picture there too. Just follow me on all those places. It's in the description of my videos. I really put information out there. And so just kind of check the different social media places for stuff like that. And you'll find out I don't like Letterboxd really at all. So I don't do it. It's not going to be you're not going to get much out of it. Other people seem to have more fun with it. It's not something I particularly enjoy. So you probably won't find what you're hoping on there. But I mean, you think even if you want to know what I think about less popular films, or more, my rankings are designed to be mini movie reviews, and so that you just look through the ranking of the franchise, and it's these little mini reviews. So I've talked about hundreds and hundreds of movies beyond just my movie reviews, just from the rankings. Gamer Girl, first thing you're going to do when this is all over besides going to the movies? Well, hopefully the pool will be open, so I'll go to the local pool. That's probably what I'll do. I don't do a whole lot. I'm not the most social person. My family will probably go out to sit down at a restaurant or a Chick-fil-A or something like that. The band at the church is backed up. Or like they've been wanting to do get together, and they're even messaging like, since we're all in lockdown and we can't meet together to do church together, what if we got together to make a music video? It's like, guys, I love your creativity, but we're just not supposed to get together. So probably get together with the youth band, stuff like that. Dantris, what is your favorite YouTube channel? I don't really like to pick favorites. I've talked about a bunch of them in here that I watch and that I enjoy. Yeah, what Dude Perfect is another. I guess I didn't mention before that kind of watch with my kids. Um, so there's some stuff. Dontra's favorite actor, Stallone. I don't like to pick favorites. That's going to be my ongoing. I don't like to pick favorites. I don't really have a favorite actress. I just no one comes to mind. People ask me all the time, and I don't have an answer. Thomas one, if you're looking for a comic you should read, Tom King's Vision series. It's going to heavily influence WandaVision. I'll look into it. Hawkish, I'm not a very social person. Wow, I got the exact opposite vibe. Yeah, everyone does. I mean, I talked about this on here not too long ago. I mean, it's tough to get a good read on me. Everyone wants to be interesting, but I tend to have pretty strong. I'm not a moderate in the way that I do things. So I'm very shy and introverted in certain senses, but then I'm also very good with crowds. If I'm in my zone, I can be the life of the party, but at the same time, like I have very low social requirements. Like I haven't felt like, oh man, I'm cooped up in my house for 2 weeks straight. What am I getting? Like I haven't felt any of that yet, like at all. It's kind of nice for me when my wife goes on work trips because I can have like just literally full introvert mode for a little bit. They'll have the kids, but still they go to bed at 8, so like full introvert mode. I love that. But I have very small requirements to be around people. And even if you follow me on Instagram and all these places, that's everything I do. Like you're seeing my whole life on there. It's not like I'm spend a bunch of time hanging out with friends doing a bunch of different stuff. No, I go to the gym with a group of guys 3 days a week, and then I invite my friends to go to the movies with me, and I go to church. That's it. Like that's my whole social life, and that's what I'm actually like. Thomas one, do you like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon? Yeah, but it's been a long time. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I owned it because I was really into Asian cinema, and so then like people associate Chow Yun-fat as a martial artist because of that movie, but he's really known for like shooting people in the face with guns with his old John Woo stuff. So yeah. Super Mason 200. Who is your son and daughter's favorite actress? My daughter wouldn't have one. My son actually he had to do a living museum for school. So people are like, I'm Michelle Obama. I'm Benjamin Franklin. My son did Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and he had to like know 10 facts about him. And so like he's never watched any of his wrestling or anything. So he's like had to like research that he was a wrestler. And so I guess he would say The Rock. I don't know how true that is, but that's who he would say. Gamer Girl, you asked a question, you retracted it. The answer to your question is yes. I don't know the specific reason you retracted it, but so I'll be sensitive in the way I answered. But some of my students were, a number of my students were. So I mean, that's the big one is from church. People I spend a lot of time with, and then a lot of some of my YouTube friends are. And even a lot of my fans are. They kind of openly, state that. So I know a bunch through internet stuff, and then several of my students. Gamer Girl, this must be what a Patreon AMA feels like. Yeah, I'm skipping over some of the questions here in comments, but it's like this. This is the vibe of it. There's 17 of us in here, so I'm able to talk through it and kind of have a back and forth with everything. And they're much more akin to this than what's on the main channel, where it's just so many people. And so I'm like, guys, stop asking the same question. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Like I'm answering a bunch of your questions. We're talking, and we can have kind of a back and forth. And there's a lot more. There can be kind of back and forth stuff, especially sometimes I take too long because they'll throw a ton of questions up front, and then it takes me 30 minutes to get through all the stuff put in the first 5 minutes, and then I start getting to the responses back to things I said. But it's much more of a dialogue and kind of fun for that reason. Caleb Eldred, what is your favorite piece of Star Wars media outside of the main movies and TV shows? The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian. It'll probably always have a special place in my heart because it's the first TV show that my son and I were both excited for when it came out. And then it was just a thing that we watched every Friday when he got home from school. And it's a good show. I love Jon Favreau. I've said that many times. One of my favorite directors, and one of these guys that the first movie he directed was called Made, and it came out the same little window of time as when Memento from Christopher Nolan. And when I got into deeper films, Jon Favreau made this little movie called Made, and so I've just been a big fan of filmmakers since the year 2000. And the 3 years after that, he did Elf, and I loved Elf. And then, of course, he did Iron Man, and then he did The Mandalorian. And so he was my pick to do Star Wars, to do a Star Wars movie. He was one of my top directors to do when they announced they were doing Lucas stuff. And then he didn't get a movie, but he got The Mandalorian. And as it turns out, that went better than the movies have gone. Dantress, do you like the Shawshank Redemption? Yeah, I've got a review. I mean, I don't think that was on the main channel. I have a review of it on my channel that you can check out. Ellie does stuff. Favorite Alfred Hitchcock movie? Mine is Rope. I honestly, I haven't really watched a ton of his movies, and I haven't watched any of them recently. So any answer I would give would be pretty dishonest. It would be me trying to give you an answer when I don't really have anything that's an honest answer. Like, I really enjoyed North by Northwest, Psycho when I watched them, but that was not recently. And so it's dishonest to indicate the Sean Chandler movie reviewer that my current taste, the person that's grown a platform, is not the same person that Sean Chandler 2010. It's not even the same person from when I started the channel, because I've watched an enormous amount of movies from an analytical perspective and tried to grow as someone that watches film. And that's not the same thing as person that watches 15 new movies per year. It's not the same thing. Gamer Girl, I retracted it because I thought you weren't going to answer it. No, if you don't mind me saying. So the question she asked was about, do I know anyone that has autism? And I do. I had several students that had I was a youth pastor for 8 years, and so because of that, without a number of different students, and so I spent a great deal of time in trips and small groups and everything with several people that had autism. B. Bonnie, you so sexy. Woo! Red 5 thoughts on Rey as a character. She's it's tough to divorce the character from the stories they told with her and what they did with it. So the movies themselves, I think, were just so inconsistent that it's tough to have a good take on the character, because the movies were so different and wanted to do different things and course correct constantly. So I don't have any negative feelings towards her. I just wish they had a better, more consistent trilogy to put her in. Tony Jabroni, Baby Yoda or Baby Groot? Baby Yoda. Ailey Taylor reviews. Who's your favorite Star Wars character outside of the obvious, like Han, Leia, and Luke? I guess we'll go with the Mandalorian. Think through some of those. If you remove the most obvious characters out of it, if you just do original trilogy, Lando's pretty cool, and I don't know who you would call obvious ones, but Mandalorian's a pretty cool character. Baby Yoda's a lot of fun. All of Mandalorians are nice little characters. Billy Bob Joe, what's in your hand? It's for my desk. It just, I don't know. I just show you. There. It's the thing that the cords go through. I'm a fidgeter. I fidget constantly. And so as I'm sitting, like when I'm doing, I'm sure I was doing it probably when I was on the main channel, but I'll just sit here with a pen and do this constantly, and click the pen. And even when I'm doing the podcasts, actually, especially when I'm doing the podcasts, I'm probably doing this a lot. I just constantly fidget. Thomas 1, do you like the Coen Brothers? Never met them, so I don't know if I like them. I like some of their movies. I'm not like a big fan or anything like that. Gamer Girl, have you seen Chicken Run from... No, I don't believe so. I might have, my kids might have, but I've never like sat down to really watch it to have things I could share with you about my thoughts on it. All right, all these are turning into movie questions, so I'm probably going to close this out. We're talking movies, and I've actually been doing live streams for 3 hours now. I did one on my main channel, then I did Patreon, and now I'm here. Probably close out in just a moment. Jack Inkson, what's a movie everyone loves but you don't like? More the one I'm not necessarily dislike them. They're more ones that I think are just overrated, like Blade Runner. I don't connect with anything Stanley Kubrick. It's not really wired that way. Spirited Away, I'm not wired that way. La La Land, cool, but best musical in 50 years, that's kind of overblown. Those are ones that kind of come to mind, but they're not bad. They're just, I think, overrated. Tony Jabroni, The Boys Season 2, thoughts? I'm excited for it. I mean, I don't have thoughts because I can't comment on something I haven't seen. I really enjoyed Season 1, so Season 2, cool. I'm looking forward to it. Eli does cool stuff. How do you rank all the Star Wars shows? I don't. I don't because... I don't think I could give a fair ranking to them because I haven't watched through them recently. I mean, I haven't watched through Droids and Ewoks, those 80s cartoons. I haven't seen the Resistance? I haven't seen that show. I've watched all of Clone Wars, but it was years ago. And then I watched Rebels when it first ran, so that was years ago. So I just wouldn't rank them. I don't ever do that. Like, I don't rank things based off old memories. That's not what I do. I have to watch all of it to do the ranking. There's a few exceptions. Like, I think I could do Dexter, the show Dexter. I could rank that one, and I probably will. I probably should. Maybe even do that pretty soon. I have strong enough opinions on each season because they're self-contained stories, and so then I have things to comment about inside of it that are just specific. Like, I can talk about the plot lines and why they are where they are. But a lot like Clone Wars, I just don't have a strong enough knowledge from memory to do that. Tajiri Strand's I'm sorry, Tarji Strand. I don't know how to. I'm sorry, man. What is the worst movie you've ever seen? I have no clue. I didn't. When you talk about worst movies, like for me, that's an incompetently made film, and so I avoid most incompetently made films. And so I just really don't have a list like that. People are like, make a list of your 10 worst movies. I don't have something like that. Normally, and I don't want to pick on this low-budget thing that's just not very good. And I don't want to pretend as if, when I say worst, it's this very slickly well-made movie from a studio that's just blah. Picking on the Transformers movies, they're blah. They're not... There's a lot of professionalism that go into them. And then there's all sorts of movies that are just blah and unprofessional. And I don't want to pick on, these low budget things that are made. Gamer Girl, are Blu-ray hauls still going to happen or will they slow down till this is all over? I'll have one for this month. It'll be, cause I did pick up some stuff and then, I got some fan mail. So I've got some things to talk about for this month. I don't know what's going to happen in April. I just have no idea because, obviously we don't know what's going to happen with society, but, you can still get stuff in the mail. So there's some things that I'll order and I'll get, and we'll see what happens. If I have 4 items, I can do a Blu-ray haul video. Super Mason 200, do you ever miss being a youth pastor or do you like being a movie reviewer better? It's a lot more complicated than that. It's not... Or I just enjoy doing movies, and it's not just do I miss it. I don't spend a lot of time thinking I want to get back to that. That's not something I do. And I still help with the teenagers at my church, and I still speak at some retreats. So, like I spoke at a retreat in January, I spoke at a retreat in February, and I'm supposed to speak at an FCA. I guess it probably won't happen at all. It's probably not going to happen. I was supposed to speak at an FCA in March, and then it kind of got delayed for different reasons, and then now with everything, probably won't happen. But so I still do some work with do work with my church. I work with the band, but the idea of being a youth pastor, I don't really miss that because it was so unhealthy for me. Going back to what I've talked about a lot in here about being an introvert, I'm not a people person, and my reservoir of people skills and to be social the way that you need to be as a pastor is limited. And so if you talk to my former students, there'd be a group that would tell them I was great at being a pastor. And there's a group that would say, yeah, he's pretty distant. He never really spent time with me. And I didn't think he liked me. They'd say things like that. Or I never got a good vibe for him. Or there's people who feel like I really dropped the ball. And there's a lot of things that I look back on. And besides just personal failures, there's obviously personal issues I was working through that all somewhat tied into the nature of the job, just leaving me empty. And then there's some things I could have done a better. Like I didn't go to football games. I didn't go to watch people's volleyball games. I didn't do a lot of stuff like that I should have done. And that was something that the role required of me. And I allowed my introversion to not let me do something that I was uncomfortable doing. And so I don't think about wanting to go back to it really. I wish I could get more involved in some of the things I was good at, because being a pastor is a role where you're in people's lives, counseling them and getting to know them. I'm very limited at what I can do with that, but I'm very good at when people think youth pastor, they think guy on stage, crazy games, wild, crazy. And I can do all that, but that's an event planner. That's a personality, the persona. And so some of that stuff I'm good at. I wish I did more of, and I could maybe have a small group, but it's a lot more complicated than, do I just enjoy reviewing movies more? Dantress, do you play video games? If so, which ones? I mean, we talked about that quite a bit in this stream. Like right now, what I play is whatever my kids play, so that I want to play with them. So it's Spider-Man 4, Battlefront 2, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, Mario Kart, and sometimes Smash Bros. So that's what it is right now. And I'm playing Uncharted. I'm playing through the Uncharted games. Just last night, completed 10% more of Uncharted 2. If I complete the main 4 games, then I'll rank them. So hopefully that'll happen during the quarantine, the one good thing that comes out of this. Tony Jabroni, are you excited about Ewan McGregor's solo Obi-Wan Kenobi show on Disney Plus? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I generally speaking don't want more stuff between the prequels and the originals because they've just spent so much time in there. I think Kenobi is an exception to that because of the nature of the actor being older. That's interesting to me. He's 15 years older now. He's kind of, about 50. So he falls into this category, age range, to where it gets interesting that you can do something that I think is really cool. Thomas, when are you watching Ozark Season 3? No. Eli, cool stuff. Do you like or watch Catwoman? I think I watched the first 8 episodes. I'm not going to keep watching. I think it's pretty terrible. They're as they've done with a lot of the CW. I mean, I'm done with the CW mostly in general. Like, I'll finish The Flash, but I'm not looking to watch anything else from an Arrowverse anytime soon. But they're just so spread thin. The writing on all the shows is so stale, burned out, and they're just allowing all the side stuff to get in front of the superhero stuff. Like, oh, we've got a Batwoman show. That should be really cool. I've been raving about wanting a Batman show. So Batwoman, cool. That's a nice alternate version. No, not cool at all. They're doing all the wrong things with it. Gamer Girl, favorite show that ended on a cliffhanger? Angel, the Buffy spinoff, ends on a huge cliffhanger. Massive cliffhanger moment for that one. And I guess they came back with a graphic novel, but the show itself did. Charlie Paul, what's your favorite Universal monster movies? I don't know. I haven't watched enough of them to be able to say anything. Thomas 1, I love your room setup. It's so cool. Here, let's do this little spin around so you can see what the room looks like from my perspective. It's going to be confusing as to what you're seeing. So that's obviously what you normally see. So that's the door where I come in. You can see my silver play button right over there in the corner. And that's where I keep all of my different... Actually, let me do something real quick for you guys. Okay. So, no, not that. This. No. Show panel. There it is. Okay. Boop. There you go. Lighten that up. So you can see a bunch of my props and everything for my videos, or my background, are over there. My extra mic silver play button. All that stuff on the wall, that sound paneling to try and get less of an echo. There's my camera. Move over here. That's my DVD collection. Those got crammed in here very recently. Those are like literal DVDs, not Blu-rays, not euphemism. There's my second set behind my green screen, where I do the red wall stuff. It's over there. Then over here's a TV with my Xbox and one of my viewing little rooms. It's my whiteboard where I map things out. I'm not doing that much right now. And then spin that around, and then there you go. That's what the room looks like. Hey, look at me. I'm glowing now. So, what's your favorite restaurant? I mean, it's not like Chili's, but it's not like that's not like a great one. It's just that's the one that's in town that we go to. There's a barbecue place called Rudy's that's around here that it's a Texas chain local to Austin that really good. Taraji, what do you feel is the best Zelda game? I haven't really played many of them, so I wouldn't have a good answer. So I played the original and I would play the one for the Super Nintendo. Those are the two I've really played, so I don't have a good answer. All right, closing out. Charlie Paul, Battlefield or Call of Duty? Call of Duty. I haven't played Battlefield. I played a bunch of the Call of Duty games. Gamer Girl, what movie stuck in development hell do you really want to get made? I don't know what constitutes development hell for a movie right now. Because there's, you could say for a long time they're stalled out on the Batman, but it's working forward now. Kind of the Flash, but I don't even know if I want to see it. I don't think you can say that Man of Steel's in development hell because they're not working on it. It's not even in development hell. They're just not developing it. So I want to see Man of Steel 2, but they're not developing it. These are all happen to be DC projects. What other things that they keep talking about that hasn't really happened? I don't know. I don't think I have any that come to mind immediately that are interesting. It seemed like there's a lot of them 10 years ago. That just ones were like, we're going to do this, and then it didn't happen. We're going to do this, and then it didn't happen. But, Billy Bob Joe, how much long you plan on streaming? Not very long. I'm probably almost done. If the questions just keep being movie questions, I'll just be done. You can see how crazy my beard colors are. There's like an actual line of like the gray, and then it looks like I spray painted or something because it's like such a distinct line. It's funny. Anyway, there's things you notice. I've been streaming too long, getting bonkers mind. Thomas 1, do you post on Twitter as much as Instagram? More because of the nature of Twitter. But I'm on both of them all day long and responding to people. Yeah, I'm very active on Twitter and Instagram. Facebook, not as much. There's not as much activity there. But like I post on Facebook even still daily, but it's Twitter's where you want to see like the ongoing film conversations. Like I'm just tweeting stuff on there, commenting on things, little reposting articles, answering questions. And then Instagram's more kind of like behind the scenes a little bit, maybe for more extra reviews. So, but I post on both quite a bit. Norik, I'm looking for a good niche family friendly movie. I feel like I've seen everything. Any recommendations? I did 2 videos with recommendations this week. There's family movies in there, and then look at my best of lists. Those are my recommendations. Like I don't have like a secret one that I'm sitting on. Those videos those are the stuff I like is, I don't know, that's to check out. Some of them are niche, some of them aren't, but I just check out my recommendation videos from this week as well as my best of list. Under films, what do you think about Deadpool not being rebooted in the MCU? It's kind of an assumption that it's not being rebooted in the MCU, but I mean, it's an assumption question, so I don't know how to answer it because it's like, what do you think about it not being? Well, it hasn't been. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I don't know what they're planning on doing. I'd have to know what they're planning on doing or what they've clearly stated they're not doing to be able to respond to it. Being that those movies were so profitable, they should just, under the Fox banner, or not Fox, but 20th Century banner, just put out another Deadpool movie on their own. And because he breaks the fourth wall, you could just bring him over and make him to a cousin to the MCU. Just, you have some MCU characters that show up in the way that X-Men characters show up. You don't worry about continuity. Eli, cool stuff. Do you take your Marvel Legends and Funko Pops out of the box? Nope, they're all in the box. Gambergo, you can tell he's been going on. You can tell he's going to end soon because he's touching his nose, itching his nose. Yep, that is correct. That is exactly how that works. Tony Jabroni, have you watched CW's Legends past season 1? Nope. It gets better, embracing its weirdness. I mean, the problem is I just don't care anymore. I just don't care anymore. People, this gets better, and people tell me Supergirl season 4 is the best one, or whatever, which one people say. I think they're just all so stale, run out of ideas, and they're just having to go weirder and more agenda based, and just losing what made the shows interesting in the first place. We'll close out just about now. Therese, where are you born? Where were you born? Be San Jose, California in 1981. And Red 5, what are your kids' favorite movies? Frozen, Spider-Man Far From Home, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Big Hero 6, uh, yeah, stuff like that. There you go. There's some. All right, thank you guys so much for checking this out. I'd like to do more streams over here. I'm gonna do more on all of my channels to have more interesting stuff, especially now that I'm locked at home, and experiment a bit more with some of this stuff. But I don't really want to talk about movies on 3 different channels. So ideally in the future, have more questions. But Thomas 1, can I direct message you on Twitter? No, you can direct message me on Instagram. I don't have open direct messages on Twitter. I don't want to have to check everywhere for messages and stuff like that. So Instagram, it's open. I respond to almost everybody. Twitter, I'm not looking to do that. Tony Giamorti, San Jose boy. That is correct. Gamer Girl, good. He ended before the music time. Dantris, the live chat was awesome. Thanks, Sean, for answering my questions. No problem. Talk to everybody later.